So hello, welcome back to Porsche Perth. As the title of this video would suggest, things are about to get incredibly awesome indeed. And I'd like to acknowledge at this moment that together with the introduction of the 997 RS 4 litre to the channel, it also marks the kickstart of the next phase of the Modern Classic series. I know you guys have been asking for it, and what better opportunity and time to kickstart that new series with the introduction of our very own Modern Classic. Also, just before we head in, I feel compelled to say a big thank you to our friends Tom and Simon over at Charles & Dean Finance. They're a partner of the channel, and if it wasn't for those guys, days like this wouldn't be possible. If you're anything like me, you'll be trawling through Piston Heads or Auto Trader, checking out cars, thinking, I wonder if I can get into that. Give those guys a call. You'd be amazed at what they can do, and what I really like about those guys is you have a personal one-on-one relationship. They understand your life, they understand the cars you like, and ultimately they can help you get into things like the thing we're about to show you. Seriously, there's something about this car. I'm actually stuck for words because, I mean, Porsche purists, myself included, might just class this as peak 911 GT3. It's the last of the Metzger engines. We'll cover that shortly. It's limited edition. They made just 600 of these cars. It's pure, it's raw, it's lightweight, it's stripped out. It's as mechanical and analog as it gets. It's nothing to do with anything but 100% immersion in driving. Now, I'll run you through the specs of this car, but how this came about, it was always on my radar as a car. But when we began the Modern Classic series, I did say at the beginning of that, and granted, this is going back over an 18-month, 2-year window, that while I'm really excited to share that series with you, it was also making up part of research that one day I would eventually buy a Modern Classic to add to the collection as a long-termer, or maybe a forever car. And this, I actually drove a RS 4 litre probably back in 2019 now, and it impacted my brain. It connects to you in such a way that you step out of it wanting to drive more and drive some more and just keep on driving. But we'll share the first drive with you soon. First of all, let's give you a walk and talk of the specs, the overview of why the car is important, starting with the engine. This is really why this car exists. It was never officially part of the business plan of Porsche. You see, there was this phenomenal engineer that went by the name of Hans Metzger, and he was responsible for developing some of the most successful and characterful engines in Porsche's history, particularly in their motorsport division. Now, just before this launched, we thought peak 911 was the 997 Generation 2 3.8 RS, and to be fair, that is still one hell of a sweet spot of a car. But as the Metzger engine was coming to an end and it was being superseded by what is effectively the Cup car engine from the 991 Gen 1 GT3, Porsche said, do you know what, we can't just let this thing go. Why don't we make the car that we would like to make, that Porsche and their engineers and their drivers would like to make? And so it was a celebration of the 997 platform, a celebration of the final run of Metzger engines, and they bought it out from 3.8 litres to 4 litres, giving it just under 500 brake horsepower. And this car is music to any driver's ears because it's more power, less weight. I mean, we've got this Lexan glass in the back here. In fact, glass would be the wrong term. It's effectively a sort of plastic, as are these side windows here. I mean, you can see as I press my hand on there, it flexes. It's all to do with losing weight. Carbon fiber wing, more downforce. So much so, there are such additional amounts of downforce from this colossal rear wing that Porsche fitted front canards in order to keep the nose just that little bit trimmed down under higher speed. So special and so significant is the engine in this car that it took a lot of internal components and development from the RSR Endurance Le Mans race car at that time. So the internals of the engine have titanium conrods and the same race developed block from the RSR. So there's true motorsport DNA from this car. However, something else which has come straight over from motorsport is the rose jointed suspension. Now, what's interesting is, if you followed the video before this one, this week's been ridiculous. We've just taken delivery of the 992 GT3, which has just received a double wishbone front end suspension and rose joints. A lot of the learning came from this car. Now, rose joints just make the car a little bit more in tune, that little bit more direct, a bit more stiff on the road. It is perhaps a little bit too track focused, but when you get up it and it finds its pace, the way this thing will destroy a B road just pulls at your smile glands like nothing you've ever felt. Okay, so overall weight saving of the RS4 litre versus the 3.8 litre 997 RS is 10 kilograms, which by and large doesn't sound like too much, but don't forget the 3.8 litre RS was already pushing boundaries to make that platform as light as they possibly could. So what they did was fit a carbon fibre bonnet, carbon fibre wing, and amongst other components, Lexan plexiglass, as it were, managed to find 10 kilograms while adding more horsepower and 21 pounds-feet of additional torque. And that, when we take you for the first drive, that really is the defining feature of that engine. The extra torque just makes running through the gears in this thing a supreme experience. All right, let's talk about brakes. Now, typically, especially these days, carbon ceramic brakes are synonymous with GT products. And even though carbon ceramic brakes were made available on the 997 generation of GT3 RS, we've opted to hunt down one with steels. One of the reasons is a bit of OCD, in that there are red decals and graphics and center locking and dust caps on the car, basically red accents everywhere. The steels come with red brake calipers, and I think it sort of ties in the overall aesthetic of the car. Additionally, the earlier generations of carbon ceramic brakes, when they got up to temperature, they were great. The chances are the majority of the life of this car will probably be spent on the road. Don't get me wrong, we're definitely gonna track it, and it's not like these brakes are bad, but on the road, they just feel a little bit more comfortable. The early bite of them is just a bit more pronounced, a bit more sharp, and they're just more, I don't know, they feel more comfortable and reliable than perhaps an early ceramic. Plus, if you want to replace the ceramic discs on a 997 GT3 RS, particularly a 4 litre, I mean, it could be 15 grand. So let's just put some pads in the steel stuff. Okay, first things first, what we're going to talk about is the seats. Eagle-eyed of you might have identified that these are in fact the folding carbon-backed seats. Two reasons we tried to hunt a car with these down. First of all, I prefer the ergonomics of them versus the 996/Carrera GT style seats. I love that they're all carbon and they sort of articulate to fit you a little bit better, but also on a road trip, you put your bags in the back. And as with all the cars on the channel, we're very much planning on using this thing. Anyway, let's hop inside. So this is really where the experience goes from awesome to analog, mechanical. We'll discuss more the driving characteristics when we do the first drive video, but one thing I can't help do immediately upon sitting in this car is depressing the clutch. It is weighty. Let's just say you wouldn't want to be stuck in traffic with this thing. It's got serious weight to it, but importantly, everything that you interact with weight-wise is well balanced. So steering feels quite heavy, clutch is quite heavy, and importantly, the throw of the gears. It's such a positive, like rifle bolt throw. Gorgeous thing. Anyway, let's close this. Lots of Alcantara, pull tags to open the doors, once again a nod to light weighting. One of the other reasons that these seats were great is a lot of them have the red inserts in them, sort of match this armrest here, but sometimes, I don't know, I can find it a little bit gaudy, perhaps a little bit too bright. It does have the Alcantara red armrest here with Porsche embossed on top of it, which is tied in with red belts, and the red RS4 litre logo embroidered on the headrests. We've got black, pretty substantial roll cage back there. We haven't installed any harnesses yet, but if we start tracking it regularly, maybe we will. Now then, there's 3 levels of infotainment system in this car. I say 3. One of them is no infotainment at all. So there was the option to spec a screen in this. So if you wanted a radio, there's tier 1. There's this, which is a tier 2 option. This is actually the upgraded 997 infotainment system, which still by modern day standards is feeling a little bit dated. However, one of the little tweaks and projects that I want to do on this is install the Porsche certified Apple CarPlay on their modern classics. So to put CarPlay in this would be incredible. And then there's the other option, which is basically a big hole there, which has nothing at all. It's just a complete hole. And that's for someone who wants to take the ethos of this car very seriously indeed, and perhaps not even spec the air conditioning, which, by the way, was an option to not option the aircon. So cool. Anyway, as I mentioned on the outside, they built 600 of these cars, majoritively left-hand drive. As you'll notice, we have a left-hand drive one here, despite the fact that we're based in the UK, which is a right-hand drive country. Predominant reason for that is they're about 100 grand less than a right-hand drive car. I didn't think it warranted 100 grand to put the wheel there, and also this is definitely a road trip car. So when we're heading over to the Nürburgring or Spa or wherever, once we're over there, it'll all click into place. And this is car number 241 of 600. And what I particularly like about this plaque and this car, actually, this is when special edition cars were truly limited, when brands weren't afraid to put an actual number on which car it was, not just saying 1 of 600 or something like that. This is 241 of 600, end of story. And now to the wheel, the distinctly Alcantara clad wheel with the matching red 12 o'clock marker. And there's something you notice about this wheel. Yes, it's lacking buttons, not a single button. How refreshing is that? That is how much of a driver's car this is. There's no volume control, skipping tracks, driver aids, assistance systems, nothing. Just get in this car, 3 pedals and a gear stick. I can't wait to get in this thing. I'm so pumped about it. And check this out. A key, an actual analog, dare I say it, mechanical key. And I like keys because it gives you somewhere to put them, doesn't it? Now listen to this. Are we ready? The last of the Metzgers. No fuel particulate filters, no nothing. Just a good exhaust, a phenomenally organic engine, and the Scottish Highlands to play with. As always, thanks so much for watching, and we shall see you in the Scottish Highlands. Ciao.